The top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. urges the newly promoted generals of the Armed Forces of the Philippines to stand prepared to defend the nation's archipelago. The Philippines and the United States of America declare unanimous decision to redouble their efforts in enhancing bilateral coordination. The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is set to implement its money ban 2 days ahead of the much-anticipated Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. And Iran issues a stern warning to the United States, expressing concern over the ongoing mass killings in Gaza. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, October 27, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Hardin Delgado. First in the news. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took center stage today, presiding over the oath-taking ceremony of the recently promoted generals and flag officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. In the midst of ongoing security issues in the region and with the complexities of international relations with other nations, the Commander-in-Chief conveyed his invaluable instructions and guidance to the dedicated men and women of the AFP. Nel Maribohok reports.
In a significant address during the oath-taking ceremony at Malacanang, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. conveyed a resounding message to the newly promoted generals of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. They must stand prepared to defend the nation's archipelago. During this solemn occasion, President Marcos emphasized his expectations for the new leaders. He called upon them to play a pivotal role in ensuring that our armed forces become more agile, flexible, and responsive, equipping them to effectively address the evolving challenges that our country faces.
We must be ready. Our armed forces must be capable of securing and defending the archipelago from emerging threats.
The President placed a strong emphasis on the need to enhance joint planning and operations to guarantee interoperability across all AFP units and platforms. He stressed that despite improvements in the country's internal security situation, there remains much work to be done. President Marcos underscored the vital importance of readiness for emerging national security issues.
You must not only anticipate, but you must also be ready to adapt and respond to emerging national security and defense realities that exist in our country and in our region.
In total, 31 generals, including AFP Chief of Staff General Romeo Browner, received promotions, marking a significant moment in the ongoing evolution of the country's defense leadership. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines and the United States of America have announced their commitment to redouble their efforts in strengthening bilateral cooperation or coordination. This decision comes in the wake of the recent collision incident in the West Philippine Sea. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
The Philippines and the United States of America have declared their unanimous decision to redouble their efforts in enhancing bilateral coordination. This strategic move follows the collision incident in the West Philippine Sea, which transpired on October 22 when Chinese vessels obstructed and collided with 2 Filipino ships near a contested shoal. In a joint statement of resolve, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Philippine Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro engaged in a substantive conversation over the phone. During this dialogue, Secretary Austin emphasized the United States' unwavering support for the Philippines in the face of this incident. Both secretaries committed to redouble efforts to strengthen bilateral coordination, interoperability, and bolster the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines. Secretary Austin, in a firm and unequivocal manner, reiterated the United States' enduring commitment to the Philippines and to the broader Indo-Pacific region. In addition to this, the defense chiefs affirmed their mutual intent to escalate the pace and expand the scope of engagements between the United States and the Philippines. Notably, U.S. President Joe Biden has conveyed a stern warning to China, emphasizing that the United States stands ready to defend the Philippines in the event of any aggression in the disputed waters of the West Philippine Sea. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police, or PNP, will be on full alert status starting Saturday, October 28. PNP Chief Police General Benjamin Acorda Jr. has stated that this heightened alert status is part of the security measures being implemented for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections.
So with this, pag sinabi nating full alert na ay lahat ng kapulisan, kanya-kanyang role based on their designated role ay gagawin na yung parte niya. And it will be declared, actually, yung ibang areas nag-declare na, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina sa opening statement ko, it will be under discretion of the ground commander kung gusto niya mas maaga.
However, General Acorda mentioned that regional commanders have the discretion to deploy personnel earlier than Saturday, depending on the peace and order situation in their respective areas. The PNP will intensify checkpoint operations and strengthen border controls nationwide to minimize and intercept any instruments of violence, emphasizing their commitment to ensuring a safe and secure environment for the upcoming election. Starting tomorrow, individuals caught in COMELEC checkpoints possessing 500,000 pesos or more may find themselves facing vote-buying complaints. Dante Amento tells us why.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, is set to implement its money ban starting tomorrow, October 28, just 2 days ahead of the elections scheduled for Monday. Under this rule, the possession or transportation of money amounting to 500,000 pesos and above is strictly prohibited. COMELEC will presume that anyone who violates this rule is engaged in vote buying, especially when supported by other evidence. However, there are certain exemptions to this rule.
Walang problema kung mag-withdraw ka sa bangko. Basta treasurer ka o meron kang kadahilanan. Pero kung may dala-dala kang 500,000 pesos plus other evidence, katulad ng mga sample ballots, ipipresume namin yan na engage sa vote buying.
Meanwhile, the Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, has issued a stern warning, particularly to local government officials who may become involved in vote buying. Secretary Benhur Abalos emphasized that they will rigorously enforce the law to hold erring local government unit officials accountable. The Committee on Contra Bigay has already filed 27 disqualification cases related to vote buying, primarily involving traditional methods. There have been minimal reports of vote buying through modern technology, but the traditional way remains a concern as the elections approach.
So far, we were expecting a lot of reports. We have reports now, but they have to be substantiated. Ang maganda ho niyan kasi dahil sa pakikipagtulungan ng GCash at other online platforms, andyan yung footprints nila eh.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The much anticipated Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections are just around the corner. With this in mind, the Commission on Elections has some essential reminders to ensure a smooth and efficient voting process for our fellow countrymen. Whether you're a first-time voter or returning to cast your ballot after 3 years since the last election, let's take a look at the step-by-step process of voting. Let's watch this.
Mga kababayan, narito na ang Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Para sa maayos at mabilis na pagboto, sundin ang 8 hakbang na ito. Una, lumapit sa Electoral Board o EB at sabihin ang inyong pangalan, precinct at sequence number ayon sa listahan ng botante na nakapaskil sa presinto. Ikalawa, kunin ang balota na ibibigay ng EB. Para sa mga botanteng may edad na 15 hanggang 17, isang SK ballot ang ibibigay sa iyo. Para sa mga botanteng may edad na 18 hanggang 30, isang SK ballot at isang barangay ballot ang dapat mong matanggap. At para naman sa mga botanteng may edad na 31 at pataas, isang barangay ballot naman ang ibibigay sa iyo. Ikatlo, pumirma sa Election Day Computerized Voters List o EDCVL. Ikaapat, punan ang balota sa pamamagitan ng pagsulat ng pangalan ng kandidatong nais iboto at gamitin ang ballot secrecy folder. Ikalima, tupiin ang balota sa pamamaraan kung paano ito tinanggap at ibalik ito sa Electoral Board or EB. Ika-anim, mag-thumb mark sa kaukulang espasyo sa ballot coupon. Ikapito, magpalagay ng indelible ink sa kuko ng kanang hintuturo. At ikawalo, sa harap ninyo ay tatanggalin ng EB ang ballot coupon at ilalagay ang balota at ballot coupon sa mga nakatakdang lagayan sa ballot box. Matapos ito ay maaari na kayong umalis ng polling place. Paalala, ang bawat boto ay mahalaga. Iwasang marumihan, mabasa o mapunit ang inyong balota. Ang boto mo ang iyong tinig para sa nais mong pagbabago. Bumoto ng wasto at matalino. Sa BSKE 2023, Barangay at Kabataan, kabilang ka dito. Para sa higit pang kaalaman at wastong impormasyon hinggil sa halalan, bisitahin kami sa aming mga opisyal na social media accounts.
And for the news abroad, Iran has called for a ceasefire in Israel during an emergency meeting at the United Nations. Iran's foreign minister has issued a warning to the United States, expressing concerns that they may face consequences if the situation in Gaza continues to be perceived as genocide. Ann Gonzalez will tell us why.
Iran has warned the United States that if the mass killing in Gaza continues, the U.S. will not be spared. Iran, who has long been an ally of Hamas, has concluded that the U.S. is supporting the genocide in Palestine.
I say frankly to the American statesmen who are now managing the genocide in Palestine that we do not welcome to expansion of the war in the region. But I warn, if the genocide in Gaza continues, they will not be spared from this fire.
In a recent statement at the United Nations Emergency General Assembly, Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian emphasized that the Palestinian Liberation Movement Hamas is fighting the prolonged occupation and has the legitimate right to do so.
The United States and several European countries have sided with the occupying regime of Israel without observing the UN Charter and international law. They call a Palestinian Liberation Movement a terrorist, which has the right to self-defense and self-determination. But they refer to the occupying and war criminal regime that is committing genocide in Gaza and having the right to self-defense.
He also stressed for an immediate ceasefire in Israel, where thousands of civilians have already been killed since the war broke early this month, and hundreds have been held captive by both parties. Hamas is ready to free the civilian hostages, according to Amir Abdollahian, and has called for the release of 6,000 Palestinians in return. Meanwhile, 2 U.S. fighter jets have reportedly struck 2 facilities in Syria on Friday morning, October 27, in retaliation for attacks on U.S. forces by Iranian-backed militia. Ann Gonzalez, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Ukraine has taken the initiative to establish a temporary Black Sea grain corridor, allowing civilian vessels to move to and from the ports of Big Odessa without requiring approval from Russia. Regrettably, reports from various sources, including Barva Invest Consultancy, the British security firm Ambre, and the Ukrainian Seaports Authority, have indicated the suspension of this vital corridor on Thursday, October 26. The decision to suspend the corridor was attributed to the presence of threats posed by Russian warplanes and sea mines. In response to these reports, Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Oleksandr Kubrakov took to social media to assert that statement regarding the unscheduled stoppage of vessel movements in the humanitarian corridor are in fact false. Since its inception, the Black Sea Grain Corridor has facilitated the shipment of approximately 700,000 tons of grain from Ukraine through its ports. The Shenzhou 17 spaceship, along with 3 of the youngest ever Chinese astronauts, is embarking on a 6-month mission to the Tiangong space station. This marks an important step in China's space exploration efforts. This report details why. On Thursday, October 26, 3 Chinese astronauts launched aboard the Shenzhou 17 spacecraft from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center in the Gobi Desert, embarking on a 6-month mission to the Tiangong space station. This crew, often referred to as the new generation of taikonauts, is notable for its young average age of 38, making them the youngest Chinese crew ever launched into space. The mission is led by former Air Force pilot Tang Hongbo, who had previously participated in the inaugural crewed mission in 2021. In contrast, his fellow crew members, Tang Shenji and Jiang Xinlin, are first-time space travelers and belong to China's 3rd group of astronauts selected in 2020. One of their tasks aboard the Tiangong space station is to repair damaged solar panels, marking China's first repair task outside the station. This mission is the 6th manned space endeavor to the space station since 2021. China has already initiated the selection process for its 4th group of astronauts, seeking candidates with doctoral degrees in various fields, including biology, physics, chemistry, biomedical engineering, and astronomy. The training process for international astronauts will begin soon. It's worth noting that, unlike the NASA-led International Space Station, or ISS, where English serves as the working language, Tiangong exclusively uses Chinese, making proficiency in the Chinese language a key requirement for foreign participants. Mavin Carrizo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. Sparse fuel reserves in the Gaza Strip have resulted in a decline in aid from the United Nations agency. From London, United Kingdom, here's Joanna Choa to tell us the details live. Good evening.
Mavin, fuel reserves essential for maintaining water supply in the southern Gaza Strip are running dangerously low. Consequently, United Nations aid agencies have had to curtail their operations in the region. Ms. Juliet Tuma, the Director of Communications for UNRWA, urgently stresses the need for fuel to continue serving the 629,000 people in facilities who sought refuge for the north of Gaza for their safety. Dr. Adbel Kader Hamid, a surgeon in Gaza, paints a bleak picture of the situation, explaining how hospitals and bakeries are severely affected. People are now contending for food and water, with long queues forming at the bakeries. Hospitals are grappling with difficult decisions as they lack the necessary medical equipment to cope with the influx of wounded patients. Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, an Israeli military spokesman, suggests that UNRWA requests thousands of liters of fuel stored in tanks near the border with Egypt. He claims that this would be sufficient to keep hospitals and water pumps operational for many days. However, Hamas appears to prioritize the use of this fuel for military purposes rather than for the welfare of civilians. Meanwhile, the United Nations Regional Humanitarian Chief Lynn Hastings argues that they lack information about fuel being available for Hamas to access. She also highlights the dire situation of scarce clean drinking water, which is forcing people to consume dirty or salinated water. This water crisis has led to sanitation systems becoming blocked, as there's insufficient electricity to pump sewage into the sea, resulting in the potential for a sewage overflow on the streets. Maven?
Thank you so much, Joanne. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maven Carrizo, live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Israel's envoy to the Philippines says that the 2 missing Filipinos may have been taken hostage by the Hamas militant group. This report will tell us why. It is likely that the 2 missing Filipinos have been kidnapped by Palestinian militant group Hamas amid the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. That was according to Israeli ambassador to the Philippines, Ilan Flus. But the Israeli envoy explains there is no evidence yet that the missing Filipinos have indeed been held hostage by Hamas. He says several bodies have yet to be identified after they were burned by the militant group. Flus says Hamas holds 224 hostages, including foreign nationals.
So it is important to say that it is likely that they've been kidnapped. As you know, nobody was able to see none of the kidnapped people because Hamas is not allowing, even not the Red Cross, to visit those that have been abducted and kidnapped into Gaza. There is no evidence, no clear sighting of quite a few of the people that we believe that have been kidnapped. And we're doing our best in order to get those hostages back home.
The Israeli ambassador emphasizes one of Israel's priorities is the release of the hostages and to return them to their respective families. He notes that a special task force has been formed to address the hostage issue, headed by a high-level retired general. The Department of Foreign Affairs earlier said that measures are in place to help in the release of possible Filipino hostages, which includes negotiations with other governments. Jorlene Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God. The Department of Agriculture is forecasting an increase in the buffer stock of rice by the end of the year. However, there are concerns raised by farmers and retailer groups regarding the rising prices of rice. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
The Department of Agriculture sees no reason for rice prices to increase. The DA noted that the buffer stock at the end of 2023 will be sufficient for 90 days. This is attributed to local production and the arrival of imported rice in the country. The DA is also expecting that the rice from India will arrive before the year ends.
After nung lifting ng EO39 hanggang sa ngayon, nami-maintain yung 45 pesos sa well mill at 41 pesos sa regular. Nagugulat kami kung saan nanggagaling yung pagtataas, lalo na ng 2 piso. The mere fact na maganda yung harvest.
However, retailers and farmers groups are monitoring a 2 peso increase in the price of rice in the market. The Grain Retailers Confederation of the Philippines, or GRECON, said that the increase in the buying price of NFA drives traders to also raise their offers to farmers.
NFA plus incentives na 3 pesos. E di magkano na yun, sir? 26. Kung ikaw, sir, yung farmer, kaya benta yung bigas mo. Sa trader na bumibili ng 27 o sa NFA na bibili sa'yo ng 26.
The Federation of Free Farmers stated that traders may be anticipating the impact of El Nino in the country, especially next year. The increasing price of rice in the market may also indicate that the volume of imported rice is not sufficient to cover the insufficiency of local supply.
Forward-looking din sila, Ray. So kung nakikita nila baka magmamahal yung produkto, syempre mag-iipon ka.
Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Ninoy Aquino International Airport, known as NAIA, has achieved an on-time performance rate of 87% and anticipates maintaining this positive trend even during holiday peak periods. JP Nunez will tell us why.
The Manila International Airport Authority, or MIAA, has reached its highest on-time performance for the month of October, achieving an 87% success rate, according to Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista. This accomplishment signifies that the majority of the over 750 flights departed and arrived on schedule.
Pati yung on-time performance actually kahapon is 87%, no? So napakaganda ng on-time performance natin, no? Kasi yung on-time performance, para ma-meet natin yan, kailangan magtulong-tulong lahat, no? Kailangan yung airline mag-operate siya on time, no? Dapat walang nadidelay sa kanila.
MIAA is determined to maintain or even improve its on-time performance during the upcoming long holiday, with an increase in passengers expected today, October 27. Many will be taking domestic flights for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan Elections, or BSKE, and the extended holiday next week.
And we can see that we're already in the peak season, diba? We're projecting talaga that starting today, we will expect a surge of passengers. In fact, based on the forward booking, nakikita natin 8 to 10% increase.
MIAA's officer in charge, General Manager Brian Ko, emphasized that the reassignment of airport terminals has been instrumental in easing passenger congestion during this busy season.
This is a complete, a different experience from the time last year, where during Undas nasa Terminal 4 pa tayo, di ba? So I think the changes that were instituted by MIAA and the DOTR in terms of moving AirAsia to T2 is right now, of course, reaping the benefits, especially for the passengers. Napakaganda na po ng experience nila.
In addition, Transportation Secretary Bautista noted that the award for the privatization of NAIA is expected in the first quarter next year. This initiative aims to enhance services at the country's primary international gateway. Among the plans is an increase in the number of flights per hour to 48 airplanes, up from the current count of about 40, to accommodate more passengers efficiently. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Malacanang has allowed government employees to work from home and public schools to conduct asynchronous classes on October 31 in preparation for the special non-working holiday on November 1, 2023. The Office of the President released the Memorandum Circular Number 38, signed by Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, stating the purpose of providing government employees full opportunity to properly observe November 1 holiday and to allow them to travel to and from the different regions in the country. However, Executive Secretary Bersamin clarified that government agencies involved in delivering basic and health services, disaster response, and other vital functions would continue with their usual in-person operations. Additionally, he pointed out that a similar arrangement for work in private companies and classes in private schools is left to the discretion of their respective heads. And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of John, chapter 4, verse 34, it says, Jesus saith unto them, My meat is to do the will of him that sent me, and to finish his work. And those are the reasons behind the news, October 27, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold, because we need to know. We will always ask why. I'm Hardin Delgado. We serve the people. We give glory to God.